o'clock. We're ready to rock, so we're going to get this meeting started. Welcome to a Beaches Watch monthly meeting. My name is Maria Mark. I am the president of the Beaches Watch, and I will be the MC for the meeting tonight. So welcome. Before we get started with our distinguished panel, I'd like to just make a few announcements. So, as always, our Beaches Watch meetings are videoed, so if you wanted to go back and look at it again, it will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow at Beaches Watch 2012. We're always looking for new members. We're looking for members to rejoin, and so it's $15 for individual, $20 for family, and $5 for students. It's a yearly membership. Valid from January through December, and you can renew your membership or make a donation at our table here as you walked in, or you can go online at beacheswatch.com. Recognition of elected officials. So it looks like we have Ellen Glasser, Mayor of Atlantic Beach. Thank you, Ellen. We also have Kevin Hogenkamp, who is the Assistant Deputy City Manager of Atlantic Beach. And of course, one of our panelists is the distinguished Jim Love, who is a former City of Jacksonville City Councilman. And we have Sandy Rowling, who is our Jacksonville Beach City Council woman. Is there anyone else that I may have overlooked? So, as you can see on the screen, we have a picture of our recipient of this year's 2022 Flan Shark Memorial Scholarship, Anthony Reyes. Dane Gilbert is also pictured with him, who is one of our board members. Thank you, Dane, for attending and presenting the scholarship award. Next, we have the Atlantic Beach Mayor's Council on Health and Wellness. There will be a meeting on Wednesday, June 8th at noon. The topic will be about our youth in Atlantic Beach, and the location will be at our City Commission chamber. So please try to attend if you can. I don't think lunch is included with that, is it?
Yes.
Oh, lunch is included. Okay. There you go. Free lunch. So, the Jacksonville Beach Downtown Hike Community Open House. This has just been added to the calendar. This is scheduled for Monday, July 11th from 5:30 to 7:30. This will be at the Jacksonville Beach City Council chambers. There's still discussion about the changing the height referendum in the Jacksonville Beach Business District. So please come out, express your opinion, share your opinion regarding this. Your elected officials really need to hear from you as far as your opinion on whether this height should be changed. Let's see, Neptune Beach, tentative schedule for land development code meetings. There will be a few held here June 6th at 6 p.m., June 20th at 6 p.m., and then July 5th at 6 p.m. And these dates are on our website, correct? If not, they will be. We can put them on there. Okay. So, in conjunction with our panel tonight, our subject regarding hurricane preparedness, we wanted to just state the sales tax holiday. This is when there's no tax on certain on items that you would buy in preparation for hurricanes, and that's going to go from May 28th through June 10th. We have, let's see, elections coming up. Election qualifying, which is June 13th to June 17th. In Atlantic Beach, we have our Mayor Commissioner Seat 1. We have Commissioner Seat 4 and Commissioner Seat 5. Jacksonville Beach, we have District 1, Seat 4, District 2, Seat 5, and District 3, Seat 6. In Neptune Beach, we have Council Seat 4 and Council Seat 5. So, save the date. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, July 13th at 7 p.m. This will be with our Beaches Police panel. We will have our chiefs from each of our beaches community to talk to us about the 4th of July follow-up, feedback, just generally what's been going on within our cities, how we as citizens can participate and help our men and women in blue to keep our community safe. And before we start with our panel, we have one more thing. We're going to go ahead and do our drawing for our early bird renewals and memberships. This is for the ones who renewed or joined last year between October and December. And we have several gift certificates from our local businesses. I'd like to go ahead and tell you who they are and to thank them. We have a $25 gift certificate from Aqua East. We have a $25 gift certificate from La Petite Paris and Atlantic Beach. If you're not eating there, you really got to go. Their pastries, quiche, everything is awesome. Nothing is bad there. We have a $25 gift certificate from Wine Warehouse. Yay. And we have a gift certificate from Hurricane Grill and Wings. And then one of our newest restaurants is opened up in Mayport on Atlantic is the Rehoboth Soul Food and Catering Restaurant, $25. I've had nothing but great reviews. Comfort food, if you just need that nice southern food to fill you up, this is the place to go. So, we've got a lot of nice gift certificates to try here, and the bag matches our shirts. So, I have the names here. Who would like to draw the winning?
Jackie would.
Jackie.
Jackie.
You've been summoned.
Jackie will do it.
Jackie will do it. Jackie will do it. Okay.
Like Mikey, make Mikey.
Mikey will do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Life. Okay. Thank you. And the winner is Brian and Jean Durer Cunningham. You don't have to be present to win, obviously, but are they here by chance? Brian and Jean? No? All right, we will notify them and let them know that they're the winner.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, and now on with our program. So, before the storm, get prepared. As you know, hurricane season is upon us. And we are fortunate to have speakers. We have Steve Sciotto, Jacksonville Beach Fire Marshal. We have Commander Gary Snyder from the Neptune Beach Police Department. We have Chief Vic Gualillo from Atlantic Beach Police Department. And Lieutenant Chase Jamison, also from the Atlantic Beach Police Department. And last but not least, we'll have Jim Love, who is a State Farm insurance representative. He's been one for many years. So everyone will have a lot of really good information for us. They also have some handouts in the back. Please make sure you pick them up before you leave if you do not get one. So we'll go ahead and start with Steve, and we will follow up after all the presenters have finished with their Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Hello, I'm Steve Sciotto, the Fire Marshal at the beach. Usually the questions people ask me are, when are you going to retire? I've been in the city of Jacksonville Beach for 39, 38 years now, so I've been here a little while. What we want to go over is something everybody dreads hearing about. They say, oh, we hear about this from June 1st all the way through November to December 1st. Hurricane preparedness. You all hear about it, but who actually doesn't? That's the important thing, is we get people used to doing this. And as cities, the 3 cities here, we all have emergency plans on how we're going to react to the storms and things that come in. We strongly encourage our residents and visitors, businesses to have these same plans. It takes such a stress load off. Just these officers here, just think about it. When hurricanes or storms coming in, they know they're going to work. So they got to figure out, oh, what am I going to do with my family? How are they going to be taken care of? Same as y'all. You have the benefit, okay, I'm going to go here and help them. But the stress that you're underneath trying to figure out oh, it's the storm's coming, where am I going? You need to set those plans out now. Have an idea, research where you're going to go, whether you're going to go, to a family member's house or somewhere. You don't need to go far. It's important to do that now. Stock those supplies. How many of y'all last minute run to the grocery store, I gotta get water and everything else, and the store's empty? There's no reason why you can't have those items for a stockpile. We do, just because we're getting in that battle and doing it at the last minute. I do encourage you to have comfort food. Last time we evacuated, here I am, I've got the due diligence, I got my tuna and all this stuff is going to last. And my partner with me, he had the M&Ms, the chips, all the good stuff. That makes such a difference when you have something just kind of, something fun there, because it's a strong, really, really bad time. You have to have a communication plan inside this emergency plan, so you figured out where you're going to go. You need to have your contact list with you, so you know, automatically here's the number. Because when you get stressed, things, it's hard to find stuff, it's hard to locate. All this needs to be an easy grab position in there. One of the big things is your meds, getting extra meds and getting prepared to evacuate with those. When was the last time we had a hurricane? What was the last one you guys remember? I don't think there's anybody, there might be a couple people in here that remember the last hurricane. That was 1965 with Dora. 64 with Dora. We have not had a hurricane here since then. That's the line I like pushing, because all these others, they've just been tropical storms. And I know I was lucky because I have Beaches Energy. I'm at the end of the scale with Chief Pike's sister down there in Palm Valley. We were only out of power for 2.5 days. There was places in Atlantic Beach that went out for 6 days, if I remember right. Can you imagine trying 6 days without electricity and things? In the hottest time of year. Tropical storm, not even a hurricane. There is not going to be power for days and weeks for some area with a hurricane. It's important you don't stay. In these plans, be ready. When we had the back in Matthew, we all evacuate. Your services leave the beach. We had a person call an overdose. They found a person in the ditch. The phones were still up, cell phones were still up and working. Remember, the bridges get shut down at what? 39-mile-per-hour winds for over a minute. You can't cross the bridges. There was a police officer on that outside. People were calling. Well, went there. Rescue can't go get them. They can't cross the bridge. They're a big box, and when it hits the side of that, it'll blow it over, it'll blow it off the bridge, all kinds of issues. So we've got an overdose in the ditch behind Crystals, dying basically. Had to give him Narcan. What hospital are we going to? Beaches is closed. So we end up, had 2 of our guys go in a police car. They grab him, they snatch him in the police car, run him across the bridge to an ambulance on the other side and drive him to Mayo. He did survive. But I got another one in Palm Valley. We get called from St. Johns County. Hey, do you have a high water vehicle? Oh, not really. So we've got a lady here having a stroke. Well, there on North or South Roscoe, a woman decided to stay, young woman in her 50s. Not dying from the storm. She had a stroke. Rescue can't get there. Not only is the intercoastal up over Roscoe, but that's when the South Roscoe washed out there by Landrum School, and you couldn't pass that way. It was 2 hours before they could get her help. She was pronounced dead at the scene. There was nothing they could do for her. That medical condition, it's important. We've been called, people say, hey, can you bring me some oxygen? We're out of oxygen. What? Well, we have no business staying for that. But we get calls, people wanting us to bring them oxygen. Those little cylinders, they don't last long. Goes back to having that plan, and I told these guys I won't take all their time. That's why I'm not going to last. I go on and I get into the stories of things. But just to let you know, we operate the Beaches Complex where all these officers are there. We all work out. We work back and forth with the city of Jacksonville, relaying information. It's easier for the county to coordinate through one area. They still make the decisions for their cities. We work as a team. We do not open the city, the beaches up till all 3 cities are ready. And Panavita, St. Johns County is involved in this. Because if we just open up, Jay Turner, they come flooding across Jay Turner trying to get in St. Johns County, and it creates issues. So all this has to be a managed thing. And the mayors are really good about helping organize and being part of that. That's important. Just a quick timeline of what occurs and how decisions are made at the EOC. For the most part, the EOC will activate at a different level, a lower level, somewhere, say, 72 to 50 hours out is when the EOC, that's Emergency Operations Center, where they start sending information out. Jack's Beach, we'll open ours up about 36 hours before then. A voluntary evacuation, it may be ordered somewhere in that 50-hour thing. We've got the storm surge map here. Basically, if there's evacuation, the beach is evacuated because the bridge is on both sides. You can't get off. If you stay, you're stuck. It's flooded. So everybody's got to go. That's why it's just a general evacuation for the beach when it occurs in there. So we do a voluntary evacuation first. The schools will close 50 hours out. Different needs, special needs shelter will open up around that 48-hour, 2 days out in there. General population evacuation may occur at 48 hours out. Again, we encourage you to go for those reasons I told you. We'll evacuate out before the hurricane force winds or tropical storm force winds come because we can't, our vehicles, we leave. We do leave the power on, but it'll go out. And once it's out, we don't start it back up till we come back and are able to get across. And like I said, the bridge is closed at 39 miles per hour per minute. They can be spot over back and forth. And I'll turn it over to these guys now.
You did it under 15.
Huh?
You did it under 15. Good job.
I got more.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
And we'll have Commander Gary Snyder now.
Good evening. Thank you for having us come up and have an opportunity to speak with you tonight about this. To be honest with you, we plan and get ready for these type of events year-round. You just start hearing from us about this time of year every year. The media starts pushing it because we're entering into a storm system. But really, from a public safety standpoint and from a public works standpoint, our cities are working on this year-round. We're always looking to improve our infrastructure, we're improving our supplies, we're stockpiling, especially now with supply chain issues that we're having nationwide. We're having to stockpile much earlier to get supplies because they're unavailable in the short term. So even though you're hearing from us tonight about what we're going through for the next 3 to 4 months, this has been going on for the last year, and it goes up to this every year. We do the same thing. Our city, for instance, made a decision to come up with a 5-year plan to replace our police vehicles to downsize from or upsize from a sedan regular police car to high water vehicles. So you may see that our fleet has started to change to large trucks and large SUVs. This increases our ground clearance from about 7 to 8 inches to upwards of 18 inches so that we can go down these streets that have high water. A lot of agencies down south lose a lot of their fleet during these storms. And so we use that as our learning curve to start making these preparations. You can't do it overnight. It's an expensive venture, but our city has made a decision to do it over the next several years. So our goal is to have our 70% of our fleet be high water vehicles so that we're always ready to serve our residents when the time comes. So I talked a little bit about renewing and stockpiling our supplies. Again, that's something that we really do year-round. We work very closely with the Emergency Management Division of the state of Florida and also with Duval County. You have to remember that most of our state funding is all going to be administered through our Duval County EOC. So we run a very close relationship with them and we work very close with them. We began our training annually, usually in April, and it'll go all the way through the hurricane season. We do that at a local level, internally. We've trained with our employees, our department heads. We're updating our continuity of government plan and our continuity of operations plan so that our government can continue to operate before, during, and after a storm. So that includes our finance section, our public works, police, to restore services. It gives us how to prioritize our services and get us back running and get our services back to our communities that we've had to take away during these disasters. Another big thing that we're having to do, and I'm speaking on at a citywide, is that we're renewing our contracts with our vendors, emergency service vendors, trees. Even though we can get services through the EOC in Jacksonville, sometimes the time restraints that are placed on us to get those services out to the beaches takes a little bit more time. So a lot of the beaches have their own vendors that we keep, and we usually have a response to them within 24 hours. We start clearing our roadways pretty darn quickly to get our roads operational so we can get our residents back across the bridge, or the ones that are staying here, get them moving again. So I talked a little bit about training. We train with the Duval County EOC. We start performing exercises each year during May. We also train locally with our local beaches. Now we collaborate with our beaches agencies year-round, not just on this type of situation, but we train for law enforcement responsibilities as well. So collaboration is the way we do business out here. It's one. It might be 3 cities, but we're one town, one community, and that's how we've operated for years. It just works for us. It may not work for everybody, but it does work for us. All of our mayors get along. We have a good working relationship, and all of our police departments have a great working relationship. So I talked a little bit about our continuing government plan. That's an ongoing piece of work for us. There's always new ordinances that are coming about and state statutes that we're able to implement into these plans each year. So they're reviewed each year, and then we update them as we go. It's a huge piece to restore services to our community. The next huge thing that we do is we update our contact list for our medically vulnerable residents. So these are people that might be on respirators, they may be on oxygen, around the clock, they may be on some type of intravenous IV therapy, or it could go on and on. It could just be from age. We have several elderly residents that we check on every day through our dispatch center. But during a storm, we share our database with Duval County EOC. So that does come to a time of evacuation. We know that we have a plan in place, and we've already made contact with them with the storm. We know at what point we're going to move them off the island and get them to a facility or to family members outside or somewhere off the island. Next thing is that we work with our employees, citywide employees. It's important for us to get you prepared, but if we're not prepared internally for our families, we're not going to be able to serve you guys. And so it's really important that we push to our employees the importance to get their family affairs in place, have a plan in place for the family, have somewhere for them to go, have supplies, have hurricane kits set up. Those are all important things that have to be done in order for us to serve you. Because if we're worrying about where our family is during a storm, our mind's not going to be where we need to be. We need to be right here taking care of our residents. So that's something that we do citywide. I would encourage everybody, I think Lieutenant bought some hurricane guides from EOC, but if you go online, jacksready.com, that's an online, you download this online, but there's tons of information about disaster and hurricanes on there that is really good. Actually, some kits, how to establish hurricane kits and build them for low cost. Tons of information, including storm tracking. The one thing I want to talk about that's always a challenge for us each year is when we open the bridges and close the bridges. And we've had some concerns this year. We've raised it with Duval County. The last 3 storms that we've had that have been significant, the number of people that have evacuated from the beaches has gotten less and less. So I don't think we even had 1 to 2% evacuate the beaches for the last 3 years. So we're trying to figure a way to make it better. How can we push the message that we have to, don't just go by what this last storm that we went through. And that's what happens. We close the bridges, half 100 people evacuate the beaches, and then they can't get back to the beach. And then on social media, they're watching people walk their dogs, playing frisbee, and they're stuck in traffic across the bridge. They can't get back to their homes. So next storm comes, still again, it's going to be a tropical storm, a grazing blow, but the beaches are closed and we can't open the bridges because one of the beaches may not be ready. And it's posing such we're really worried that if we ever had a direct hit of a category 1 or a category 2, and even a category 3 would be catastrophic for the beaches. But the thought of having 1 or 2% only evacuating the beaches for a storm that size and the amount of water that would be coming through our community, it really would be, it would take years and years to recover from that. And I'm open to anyone, we'd really like some suggestions if anybody has any ideas, any thoughts. I'd love to hear them, of how we could do a better job to convey the need to evacuate our beaches as a public safety agency. And I think Chief Gualillo would have the same kind of concerns. I think we all do. Anybody have any thoughts? Ideas?
What people say, and when you'll hear the people say, "I'm never evacuated again after that." Then the ones that stayed during the storm say, "I'll never stay during a hurricane again." So you got both. You got the real hurricane that is, people did not want to be there, and then the other, we get what the problem we're having when people want to be.
Maybe that's what you need is personal testimonies of why you shouldn't stay.
You know, there's a lot of the message that Chief Gualillo brought a good point. We need to push to evacuate, but don't look to evacuate long distance. Look to evacuate short distance and just get off the island. The amount of water on this side of the waterway compared to what's going to be even at Richardson Square is going to be totally different. So even if you got that far, the problem that you have is in the past, people start wanting to evacuate and go out 150 miles, go into Georgia. Well, if you go north and on 95, you're going to get water in Georgia. Their Loveland runs with all the way to Savannah. They end up having to shut those highways down, and they're pushing everybody on 2-lane highways west, and you're stuck in gridlock traffic for 3 days.
3 days.
So that's what happens. The other side of that is people start trying to book rooms, hotel rooms, farther west out of Lake City, but the storm's already come up from the south, and all those residents have evacuated Lake City, so now there's nowhere for them to stay. So now, again, there's just the message that we're thinking that we need to push is that let's go, don't think so far away, and let's just get off the island and come up with a plan just to, off the beaches. I think that Chase will probably address that as well as any ideas he would have. And I think that's about all I have. Anybody have any questions?
We'll do questions later.
Okay.
So you can get all the ones. Thank you. Okay, and now we will hear from Chief.
I use my time.
Okay, we'll hear from Lieutenant Jamison from Miami Beach.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chase Jamison. I'm with the Miami Beach Police Department. I'm in my 18th year there. I'm part of our incident management team within the city. One of the things that a lot of people don't quite understand with hurricanes is how our three beaches and county government, and obviously it's spread that out to the state government and federal government, plan for and respond to hurricane situations. This doesn't include, or I'm sorry, it's not exclusive to hurricanes though. One of the things that we ensure we do is continually train and prepare ourselves. Gary Snyder and Chief Sciotto have talked a lot about preparedness and being ready for those events. We participate and are following the National Incident Management System and the Incident Command System, which was started in the 70s as a response to wildland fires in California and has since evolved into an all-hazards approach to being prepared for basically any event, from hurricanes to pre-planned events like dancing in the streets or the air show that comes out here, pretty much anything. You can even do it for a party if you want. We follow that system and work through it to plan, prepare, and then work through and recover from any sort of event. As we work together within our beaches communities and with the county, we are following that system. We form a unified command system and work together through basically 4 categories. Operations, where they're doing the work to respond. The planning section, where we're figuring out what we're going to do, telling everyone how to do it, and then our logistics section that's working on getting all the things we need to accomplish that, and the finance section who has to pay for it. So as we're working together in preparations for our storms and things like that, we talked about earlier meeting with each other, coming together with our plans, working through where we're all going to stay, how we're going to work together. And that includes not just the 3 beach cities and the agencies out here at the beach, but also the county and the city of Jacksonville. Obviously, they've got a whole lot of resources just based on their size, and we do turn to them for a lot of resources, especially manpower. They've got a lot of folks that work there, and they can provide a lot of help to us. I know we have been meeting for several months already. I was at a meeting earlier today regarding hurricane preparedness, talking about what our plans are, what we would anticipate asking for and needing from the county, and then how we're going to work together, putting together not only our own local hurricane preparedness plans, but also integrating our plans with the county and the city of Jacksonville. That's a big portion of that preparedness cycle, being ready for what's going to happen. Once the storm actually arrives, what we're doing is working together. We've already got our plan in action. We're working together. We've pulled in some resources in advance to be ready for the storm. We start working through that as long as it's safe to do so, especially with hurricanes. Obviously, it can be dangerous, and it does get dangerous eventually. And Commander Snyder and Chief Sciotto mentioned pulling resources out and us moving away for our own safety. We can't help anybody if we're hurt or unable to respond. So we go through those steps. At that point, either shelter in place in designated locations here, or if necessary, we do have pre-designated locations further inland to protect ourselves to respond after the storm passes. We're working on figuring out when we can do that, when it's necessary. We're working with our partners at the Emergency Operations Center in Jacksonville to figure out what those conditions are, what we should expect. They have not only city resources and county resources within Jacksonville, but we're also pulling in other partners, such as the National Weather Service that has locations here in Jacksonville that we work with. We're pulling in resources and information from the State Emergency Operations Center, the National Hurricane Center out in Miami, all those kind of places. So we're trying to work together to get that information. Once we have that information, we are able to respond and start recovery after the storm. We then work with our partners and start getting it to where you guys can get back to life back to normal. That's our goal, is recover as quickly as we can. So we have worked out operations and systems in place, such as emergency road access teams that we repositioned here to open those roads up as quickly as possible. The State Department of Transportation and the county have engineers in place to inspect those bridges if we do have to close them, because that's a safety factor. If we close a bridge due to wind, high wind, and weather, we have to inspect to make sure it's safe to cross over. We have to make sure, as Commander Snyder mentioned, out here at the beach, if there's dangerous conditions. I know that was a big thing with Matthew and Irma, that when those storms came ashore and a lot of water got pushed up into neighborhoods, it wasn't safe to open up portions of the beach, which is why a lot of those bridges remained closed until it was safe and we could bring people back all together at one time. So that's one of those big things that we work on to ensuring preparedness, communicating with our partners in Jacksonville, in the county, with each other. It's a big thing. We practice it all the time. It's not strictly limited to hurricanes. We did it during recently, just a week ago, Dancing in the Streets. We do it with the air show. We do it with a lot of these events that we do within our communities here at the beach to make sure we can practice and are able to participate and do those things to make sure we are able to serve you and protect this community and make sure you guys have the quality of life that you expect here on the beach. So that's pretty much kind of a quick overview of the emergency operations plan and how we do things pre-storm and post-storm and how we work with our partners here at the beach. So that completes my presentation and thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Jamison. So we'll now finish up with Jim Love. Sure. Our good neighbor.
Thank you. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank the Beaches Watch for allowing me to come out here, particularly Steve. Steve Piscatelli invited me out here. It's like our third time that I've done this. And you've chosen a retired politician and a county. I don't know how that happened. You may not believe anything I say because I'm a retired politician. So I'll try to give you the best scoop. All right, first of all, we're talking insurance. And that's pretty important because if you have damage, you got to have somebody help you out. What you should do right now, if you haven't done it already, is you should call up your insurance agent and say, let's review. And you can do it over the phone. You don't have to go in. The things you want to look at. Number one, what's your hurricane deductible? And for most people, it's going to be 2%. What's 2% of what? 2% of your house is $300,000. That'd be $6,000 deductible. That's pretty high. In many cases, you're not going to reach that number. Hopefully, I mean, you might if you get really get hard. But you got to know that. So what does that mean? That means you better have some cash handy. And you can have it either as you can have a line of credit on your house, you can have a credit card, you can have money in the bank and a savings account. It doesn't matter how you get it, but you better have some because there's a big deductible for most people. The other deductible, ask them what the other deductible is. Typically, it's 1%. So instead of being it's half of the hurricane. Not always. It could be 1,000, it could be 2,500, but a lot of times it's 1%. So be ready for that too. So that's a question you ask. How much coverage do I have on my house? Is it enough? I just heard that the prices of houses in Jacksonville, County, of course, were in the beaches here, but I bet the beaches have gone up about 25% too. So they've gone up quite a bit. So your house value has gone up. Building a house has gone up in cost. So the cost has gone up. So make sure that you're not underinsured. It's better to have the proper amount of insurance. So ask that question. How much contents coverage do you have? Typically, most people have enough, but at least ask about it. The question that goes along with that is, do I have replacement cost coverage? What does that mean? If you've got older furniture, is it going to pay for new furniture? If you have a house that's older, is it going to replace my house? So make sure you have that replacement cost coverage. I think it's real important. Some other questions you want to ask your agent. You want to ask them, how do I make a claim? Who do I call? A lot of companies will do it in a number of ways. Companies will be advertising on 800 number. Some companies will say, call your agent. Well, guess what? The agent's not going to be in his office. He's going to be hunkering down at his house taking care of his family. So a lot of the companies, if you call the agent, it'll forward to a call center, and they'll take the claim. Maybe not, though, but find out. A third way is the internet. Your internet probably will be down, right? but your phone internet may be up. Most likely, this will be the last thing that goes down, probably. So you may be able to do a claim right on your phone. Well, you may have to download an app for that. So figure out who where that app is, get it on your phone, how to do it. So that's 3 ways to make a claim, and also call, click, and internet. So those are the 3 ways that you can do it, but you got to know those numbers, you got to know that email website to go to. What other questions can you ask? Do I have flood insurance? Okay, so there's some people don't need it. I happen to be in Avondale and pretty high, and the house is off grade, so I don't have it. And but you may need it, and if you need it, how much coverage do you have? What does it cover? I can tell you what it doesn't cover. Because my mom's house condo flooded in Avondale, and it doesn't cover for you to live someplace else. So that can be pretty expensive. So know that if you have a flood, it doesn't cover. Now, if the wind blows your roof off, okay, and you have to live someplace else, it is covered under your policy, under your homeowner's policy, but find out how much coverage is there. It was a year before my mom got back into her condo. It took that long to redo the walls and floors and such. Okay, something that you should do. Okay, so the first thing, call your agent. Number 2, take pictures of your contents of your house. Show the people what it looks like when you lost, because if you have a big flood, you may or may not remember what you have. That's pretty easy to do, and you can store it all. Well, you can store it on your phone, I guess, but you can also store it on 2 other places. There's Google Pictures, Google Photos it's called, and there's Apple Photos, and another one I like is called Shutterfly. Shutterfly is a good place too. All those are free. So you can store them in multiple places, and then that way, if you have a loss, you can actually, for Shutterfly, I can actually send a link to my claims adjuster and say, this is all the stuff I have. Look at all those 750 pictures, or whatever I have, and he can look at it without having me to send it to him. You can just look at a link. All right. So I've given you 2 things to do, right? Pictures to your agent. Now, number 3, make a list of the phone numbers, policy numbers for your insurance, okay? And when they expire. You don't want them to expire. You can't get the premium in because the internet's down, you can't mail it, the postman's not running. So, know when that happens. So get those, make a little list of those numbers. Okay, if you get a new roof, on your house, there's 2 kinds of shingles, basically. There's 3-tab shingles, which are the cheapest, and there's architectural grade. Architectural grade are a little better. A little bit more expensive, but they're worth it. Okay, you can go metal if you want. It's really not, it's as good as architectural grade, but it's even more expensive. So to me, I have architectural grade on my house, and I think for Florida, I would recommend that to everybody if you get a new roof. Now, if you get another thing, it's called a secondary water barrier, which goes underneath the shingles. And why is an insurance guy telling you this? Because, well, first of all, you're going to have a secondary water barrier, you're going to have less water damage if the shingle goes off. It costs maybe an extra $500 when you're doing an $18,000 roof. That's a pretty small amount, but you can get your money back on that. I'm going to tell you how. Once you get that new roof put on, ask your roofer, I would like a wind mitigation inspection. What's that? Well, about 20 years ago, the state of Florida said if you do a wind mitigation inspection, there's like 8 questions on there. And they look at your house and go in your attic and they look at stuff. And if you check yes on some of these things, you get a discount. Well, a secondary water barrier is number 8 on that list. Hurricane clips is on there, and shutters and stuff like that are on there. But it can mean a big discount. So if you haven't got a wind mitigation discount on your home yet, then you probably should get one because it will save you money on your home insurance. It costs about $150 to get, and that can save you 150, 200, 300, 500 a year. So it can pay for itself, a wind mitigation inspection. But if you get a new roof, definitely want to get one, because they're going to come back and say, hey, you got a brand new roof that meets the building code. Meets the building code, that's the key that you're going to get a big discount. Okay. If you have a loss from a storm, you can make your own repairs, or get the tarp. In fact, on the back, the little handout I have, there's right now it's tax-free to buy some supplies. Probably the best deal on here is to get a generator. There's a lot of generators under $1,000 that you could get, and but you can make you can do your own repairs. But if you do, save your receipts, and they may or may not be deductible or part of your claim. It just depends. Again, in many cases, you're not going to reach that 2%, but you might, and if you do, it could count toward it. Okay, power outages. That's going to be the worst. Probably most people aren't going to have huge damage, hopefully, but what we will have is power outage. And what's wrong with that? Well, it's hot and sweaty in Florida. And so that's why consider getting a small generator, a little window unit, and a fan, and a TV, and some extension cords to run your refrigerator. You don't need a big one. You don't need a big one. And it can be very helpful in a tough time. My house, I have built-in generator, backup generator, and so I got 2 generators. And when we had the storm over coming, all my kids lost electricity. They came to my house. So anyway, it can be very popular if you have a generator. Lastly, on the back of this, there's 3 websites I put so you can do more planning. One of them is this magazine, this nice preparedness guide. So that's jacksready.com. That's on there. Another one is ready.gov/hurricanes. That's from the feds. And the other one is from my company. So you've got 3 different ones to take a look at. And I went through as many things as I can, as fast as I can. Thank you again for letting me speak, and I think we have questions now. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you to all of our panelists. And yes, we do have some time for Q&A. I have a microphone here that I can pass to you guys. So.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so, yes.
Jim, can you speak briefly about assignment of benefits?
Okay. Sure. Assignment of benefits is when the roofer usually comes to you and says, if you will sign this paper here, I'll take care of your claim for you. Well, and sometimes they do it without true hurricane damage. Sometimes they do. And sometimes they can help you. But many times it causes some consternation on getting things done. It's not illegal, but typically the insurance company wants to pay and get done with it as fast as they can, because they're going to have hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of claims, and they're going to want to get it taken care of. If you want to get the claim done quickly, I would probably have some carpenters in my back pocket, or roofers in my back pocket that could help me get started. Just remember, you're going to have a pretty big deductible, so if you just have a little bit of damage, you may just do yourself a favor and get it done yourself. But assignment of benefit is when you sign off your rights to handle the claim to a third party who will try to make it happen.
Or they will be skipping town with your money. And then they're going to call their Congress out.
Well, that would be sad.
Hopefully, that would be sad, but it happens.
Thank you. Question?
Jim, I've seen that on fire reform for a commercial business, and what occurred there is the limit that they would pay, the insurance company would pay, where the cleanup company charged well beyond what the company would pay. So there is amount in there, because it wasn't approved in that business insurance, it was not an approved vendor for that insurance.
Right, they can really run the bill.
Sharon?
Yeah, is it compulsory, or could we make it compulsory for these gated communities to open so that people can evacuate through them? For instance, we have really probably a couple of thousand people living north of Selva Marina Drive, and the Atlantic Beach Country Club and Fleet Landing are literally roadblocks. You can't evacuate through there to Mayport Road where you need to go. Everybody has to go down Seminole Road, and it's just a mess. It can, and this must be all over the beach, these gated communities. Can we do something about that?
So much of that property is private property, as you mentioned. I think that if we look at the timeline for evacuation, we shouldn't have any issues moving those folks from north end of Seminole Road and north end of Atlantic Beach out on the standard roads, which is Seminole Road. If we had a severe incident, I'm sure we could go to them and ask them on a partnership to open those private gates up to us. I would hope we would never have a situation that we need to move that many people in that short a time. I'm sure we could talk about that if it ever needed to happen.
Let's go.
Joe?
What would you guys recommend for if you see looting or it starts occurring? I don't recall that there's ever been much, but there sure is the potential for it.
So we're not going to encourage vigilante justice, but we have seen it. In Floyd, I think, was a hurricane I was here for. We saw some of that. Some of the convenience stores were burglarized. We asked that the residents let us know as quickly as possible. Everybody's got cell phone cameras these days, so it's really not worth risking your life or taking somebody else's to save property. It's hard to say that, right? It's somebody's belongings, if it's their house, but a TV, a VCR, or jewelry isn't worth taking someone's life over. But you can sure get us evidence on your cell phone. If you'll just record that, and of course, a lot of us have Ring cameras. If you have electricity, you have to run them with your cell phone, probably run them. And if you're seeing that looting occur, you can probably record it for us and try and get us a photo or video and tag number on a car, description, and get that to us as quickly as you can. We do want to remind folks that property isn't worth a human life on anybody's part.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question, Mayor Snyder. You had mentioned that your police department has a list of citizens who have special medical needs. Is that something that citizens register for? Do all the beaches have that list of it, or have that ability for people to call and say, I'm on oxygen or I'm IV?
I know Jacksonville Beach. I think Jacksonville Beach has one. We've had one for decades, but it requires you to update it each year. The EOC also, Jacksonville 5 Rescue, they maintain the list as well, and it goes into a database. Again, it's something that you have to maintain each year because it changes. You have several people on that list that die from one year to another, or their situation can change. So, yes, I think.
If you go to the Jax Ready website, the registration form's there for the county. It's for all 3 beaches. You can go on there, and that's where you should enroll and list on there. It has to be done annually, and that covers you for all 3 beaches. Some of the little local ones, we have a local one also, but it's for other things, for electricity. The main one you want to register on is the Jax Ready site.
Thank you.
They did do some updates to it this year that added additional questions, specifically regarding transportation needs and things like that. So make sure you do it every year.
If you know someone who's transportation disenfranchised for some reason, please encourage them to reach out, contact COJ to get on that list and make those arrangements ahead, plan ahead, right? Make those arrangements ahead of time so we can get them transportation to get to a shelter that will fit their needs. If they have medical needs, oxygen, or other medical devices, they need to go to a specific shelter that will be open. So put those plans in place early, please.
The shelter is the last place you want to be. It is not you're not going to have the convenience there you are used to at the shelter. So while they're there for everybody to take advantage of, remember, it's one of the last places you want to be.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, we thank the panelists very much for this.
I've got one last comment.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But one thing, he brought up a good point. You brought up a good point about the generators and things. Last year's storms in Mississippi, you know, flooding has always been the #1 killer of the storms, everything. Not last year. Generators were. More people died from the generators than not having out in proper ventilated areas. So since everybody's buying generators now, you have to run them outside. Don't run them in the garage or around windows and things. It's important there you run them properly.
Good point.
And long extension.
Okay, we have another hand for our panelists. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap up the meeting. On your chair, you'll see a slip of paper. It's our survey. We would appreciate you taking us 1 minute to fill it out to let us know how we're doing. Any suggestions you may have for future meetings, we would appreciate that. And again, our meeting will be recorded on our YouTube channel, Beaches Watch 2012, on Facebook, and on our website. So next month, we'll have the police panel again to talk about post-July, 4th of July, and among other things. So thank you all for